Tell us, first of all, have you heard about the phone call that the prank phone call that Governor Walker took today, and your thoughts about the tactics you discussed using in that call?
Yeah, I did hear about the call. I got to be honest with you, I haven't listened to it, but I did have a brief conversation with the speaker and also with some of the governor's staff. I'm not sure what was said, but it doesn't really change anything I think that we're doing over here. I'm not sure. It sounded like he was duped into this phone call somehow. So, yeah, but I don't have any comment on it beyond that. So.
It sounded like he was saying that he would maybe agree to a meeting with Senate Dem leadership if they would all come back and come to the floor, and then even if they weren't there, somehow try to vote, because he believed legally there could be a quorum if they came back. So essentially vote without their knowledge, so to speak.
No, I mean, our perspective and the caucus perspective is that the bill is not negotiable. The only thing that I would like to ultimately talk to the Dems about at this point is how to operate on the floor when they do come back, if they come back. That's the only thing I would really negotiate with Senator Miller. But other than that, I don't have any comment on the phone call.
The governor wasn't talking about negotiating with them. He was saying he wanted to come here and talk and have their voices heard, and that he believed if you could get there, get them present in the building while you were in session, that the 19 Republicans could vote on the bill. You wouldn't need a 20th vote. Did you discuss that strategy with the governor?
No.
He said he was getting a legal opinion on it.
No.
Did the LRB or alleged counsel or any legislative staff assist the governor with that?
No, I've never spoken to the governor about that.
Would you be comfortable with that tactic yourself?
No, I think what we're doing is making sure that we have 19 Republican votes and that we're ready to go on the bill. That's been the focus of our caucuses. That's been certainly something that I think most people have been comfortable with, is just to make sure we can march forward with 19 votes.
Hey, Senator, what do you make of the so-called Schultz compromise that's been floating out there about putting a sunset provision on there? Is that getting any traction in your caucus?
The amendment that would bring us all back 2 years from now so we could do this over again, that amendment? No, I talked to Senator Schultz this morning about that. Obviously, I think what Senator Schultz is doing is trying to develop some cover back in the district, appearing to be kind of somebody that is trying to be honest with his own constituency, and I've spoken to Senator Schultz about that. And he's in a tough spot. Senator Schultz has his wife Rachel is a district administrator, and so I'm sure he's getting a dose of that at home, and also hearing from a number of constituencies in the district, and he's in a tough spot, and that's fine. I mean, oftentimes sometimes elected officials try and have it both ways, and I think that Senator Schultz is trying to do that publicly right now, but Gail's a member of our caucus, and I expect he'll be there with us on the final vote, and that's about.
In terms of being disingenuous, is he being disingenuous in there? Is that what you're saying?
Developing cover back home sometimes means that you have to start a discussion in the district versus the discussion you're having in the caucus. And no, I don't think he's being disingenuous. I think there's many of members of the caucus that ultimately, if there was some other option available. I mean, we're under so much pressure right now that, yeah, it's always going to be discussion right up until the last moment. Is there a different way of doing this? Is there a different way of getting this done? But, my point right now is we're still rock solid. The caucus is together. I think you heard the speech I gave right now. It's the other party where the focus should be, not my caucus. I mean, we are very much grounded and know where we're headed. It's the other caucus that's clearly floundering and is unable to figure out what their strategy is at this point.
Has there been any discussion in terms of budget cutting when it comes to legislators' salaries or their health care benefits or their per diems?
Yeah, senators have been through a number of reductions in salary and already paid their health care. So, we're gonna do exactly what we're asking every other public employee to do, and revisit our own salaries and probably make deeper cuts than we already are absorbing now. Absolutely.
Are you going to take any additional measures at this point, though, to try to bring Senate Dems back, whether that be cutting their staff, whether that be, I know you've done the thing with the checks already.
Yeah, I'll be on the floor with their paychecks, and I hope that, ultimately they'll come and visit with me and pick up their paychecks sometime after the first of the month, and I'll be available each day to sit down and talk with any one of them that wants to do that.
But what's the next step? Have you discussed cutting Senate staff for the Democrats?
You know, I haven't. You know, we've talked internally about a number of different things that could bring a legislator back into the chamber, and it's been an interesting kind of period to research that and look at what other states do in that regard beyond the call. But you know, like I said on the floor of the Senate today, I mean, the idea that Senator Miller is trying to, you know, mislead the press in saying that this is some type of parliamentary procedure that is legit to deny quorum is just not true. I mean, it's not part of Robert's rules. It's not part of any legislative rule out there. Quorum was established to make sure that there's enough members of the body present to do business. This is not legitimate what they're doing right now. I mean, and the danger is if, you know, you would find yourself in a situation where there are enough members to walk out of the chamber, I mean, they literally could shut down government, and you'd have to hold a series of elections and recalls and elections to bring that back around. I mean, that's scary stuff when democracy is being crippled, I think, the way it is right now in the Senate.
Senator, the governor has sort of gone over the possible layoffs and things like that could happen if this bill isn't passed fairly soon. Could you sort of just go over the logistics again of how this would work as far as the deadlines and the number of people who could be laid off at a certain point?
Yeah, it's still difficult for me to give you a full answer on that because I am not privy to the governor's full budget. You know, there have been questions and a little give and take over the last month on just exactly what is in the governor's budget, but it's very difficult for me to comment on that, especially in light of, you know, the governor making his full announcement on Tuesday. I think it would be premature to do that. So
there have been recalls launched against some of the Senate Democrats. Do you think this action by them rises to the level of making a recall a legitimate action?
Absolutely, absolutely. They are in poor standing of the body that they rose their right hand and swore to the Constitution that they would do to the best of their abilities serve the people of Wisconsin, and clearly they are not doing that at this point. And because of that, you know, absolutely, if there are residents within their own districts that think that they should be recalled, I think it's certainly something that's available to them. And yeah, I did hear that a couple of the recalls have been launched. I'm not sure in which districts or against which senators, but absolutely, that is going to be part of the process.
Will Senator Republicans offer assistance to those guys or try and recall them?
You know, I'm not sure exactly how that's done or how that's set up, but you know, I would assume that some of that is grassroots as well. So.
In his tape, there's discussion. The governor says that he considered but rejected the idea of planting outside agitators among the protesters. Have you ever considered anything like that? Did he ever discuss that plan with you?
To place agitators in the crowd?
That's what the Chrysler proposes, and the governor says, I considered that, but we're not going to do that.
I never considered that. No, I mean, I think we've been very fortunate up until this point that we have had no incidents. You know, Wednesday and Thursday last week in the Capitol was very scary. And then Saturday, when I was here Saturday morning, I mean, the size of the crowd that had already come together, you know, we're just very fortunate that nothing happened with that size of crowd here. And it does say a lot to think about, you know, Wisconsinites and the way they conduct themselves. I think it's, you know, we were very fortunate.
Doesn't the fact that he took the call feed into the idea that somehow the Koch brothers have influence on the Republican Party, especially in this state?
I don't know anything about the call. I have no idea how it was set up or arranged, or how the governor was somehow misled that there was somebody on the other end that ultimately was not the person he thought it was.
Could you answer about the Koch brothers? How about the Koch brothers? Does it show they have some sort of influence?
I don't know the Koch brothers. I have no idea about any of that.